Okay, so we're on page 800. And yesterday, the what do you call it? The Chumash ended off with 4 lines from the top. It said, "V'ayamim yemei bikurei anovim." It was the ripening of the grapes. And the Mefarshim say, why does the Torah point out? I mean, what's the difference? Is the ripening of the grapes or the middle of the grape season? So I saw one of the Mefarshim says, when the grapes are on the vine, and they haven't ripened yet, people get very touchy. People don't want you taking their stuff before it's ripened. Don't go picking their grapes. So this makes the challenge of taking the produce makes it even more difficult. More what do you call it? Because people are very protective. I don't know why that is. I guess once they ripen, anyway, we got the grape. You could ruin things or something. I'm not sure why, but that's what it says. That's what the Mefarshim say. Bikurei anovim. When the grapes are unripe, so people get a little more protective. Vayalu vayasuru esa oretz v'midbar tzin ad rechov levo chamos. Vayalu ba-Negev. They come up through the Negev. Vayovo ad Chevron. He came to Chevron in the singular. Vayovo ad Chevron. V'sham achiman sheishai v'talmei yalidei ha'anak. You have these 3 brothers, Achiman, Sheishai, and Talmai, born of the giant. V'Chevron sheva shanim nivda salif teitzah in Mitzrayim. So it says Vayovo ad Chevron. Who came to Chevron? It says Rashi. It doesn't say Vayovo. It says Vayovo. It doesn't say they came to Chevron. It says he came to Chevron in the singular. Who was it? It was Calev. Calev went. Rashi says Calev went to the Ma'aras HaMachpelah and he davened by the kever of Avram Avinu, by the kever of the Avos. See, there's another opinion that the Medrash says that Vayovo ad Chevron refers to Hashem. Hashem went to Chevron. What did Hashem go to Chevron for? What does that even mean? There's actually a Medrash that Hashem went to let the forefathers know that soon the Bnei Israel are coming into Eretz Yisrael. Vayovo ad Chevron. But Rashi doesn't bring that. That's a Medrash. Rashi brings that Calev went to Chevron, and he went to daven. What did he daven for? That he should be spared from the plot of the spies. That means they're already picking up the drift of what's going on here, that these guys are already, they're up to no good, they're shenanigans. So Vayovo ad Chevron. So I heard an interesting question, and why didn't they go to daven for themselves? Why didn't they go to Chevron? Why did only Calev go to Chevron? So I heard from Rav Daniel Lehrfield, as Rosh Yeshiva of Beis Yisrael. He said, you could go to Eretz Yisrael, there are different reasons to go to Eretz Yisrael. People come to Israel. If you're looking for material pursuits, you could usually do better anywhere else in the world. Israel, you want what do you call it? If you're looking for fun, entertainment, you could do better. If you're looking for a casino, the casino in Jericho. I think if you go to if you go to Vegas, or if you go to you'll be doing better. Monaco, I think you'll be doing better. If you're looking for to make money, I think there are better places. Go to Wall Street. You could do better. Everything you could do better in material pursuits. You could do better anywhere in the world. If you come to Eretz Yisrael, you should come for the ruchnius. Come for the spirit. Where's the ruchnius? So you go to Maras HaMachpelah. The Avos are buried over there. Calev, he's focused on the ruchnius of Eretz Yisrael. The Meraglim, they're not focused on anything. They don't want any part of it. But they certainly don't want the ruchnius of Eretz Yisrael. But it's a less, people come to Israel. If you're coming to Israel, it really, honestly, you could do much better in a lot of other places. If you're coming to Israel because you want to live it up, I can think of a lot more places where you can live it up. Israel is not if you come to Israel because you want to grow, so there is something about the spiritual potency of Eretz Yisrael. The Avir, Ein Torah Ketoras Eretz Yisrael. People come to Israel, strange things happen in Israel. People become inspired here where they're not inspired anywhere else. Why? That's how it works. Israel's got there's a certain Kedusha to Eretz Yisrael. And if there's a Kedusha in Eretz Yisrael, a person comes to Eretz Yisrael, they're affected by the Kedusha. But if you're coming here because you want to buy a car, you can do much better in a lot of other places. If you're coming here because of the entertainment industry, oh goodness, right? I mean, they're only about 20 years behind. If you're coming here because you're into sports, Well, yeah, Israel's as good as the Israeli basketball team is at least as good as a good American high school team. So you could do much better. You want beer, right? Maccabee beer, ooh, I think a cold Heineken is probably better. A Heineken on tap, there's nothing. What can you possibly find here that you can't find somewhere else in the material or in that realm? You want ruchnius, you want spirituality. People don't even know why they're affected. They don't even know why they're affected, but somehow they're affected. That's the fact. So then you got these three giants are over there, Achiman, Sheshai, and Talmai. So Achiman, his name, the Gemara says Achiman, these are intimidating guys. Achiman is the most miyuman sheba'achim, the most highest caliber among the brothers. Sheshai comes from the word shayish, which is marble. That everywhere he stepped, he made indentations in the earth like marble. In Talmai, he made ridges in the earth, furrows in the earth, from the word tlumim. So you got, what do you call it? They're giants. And then, Vayavo ad Nachal Eshkol. They come to a place called Nachal Eshkol. Vayichrusu misham zemora. They cut down a vine. Ve'eshkol anovim, a cluster of grapes, echad. Vayisu bamot bishnayim. They have two poles carrying one cluster of grapes. I mean, most of the time you're sitting at a table, how big is a cluster of grapes? You kind of pick up a grape cluster. Anybody wants some grapes, you give somebody a grape. There's one big cluster of grapes over here. One massive, it takes 8 men to carry this cluster of grapes. Umin harimonim, a pomegranate. One guy took a pomegranate, he sold one pomegranate. Umin ta'enim, and one fig. I mean, if your wife ever sends you out to buy some apples, don't come home with one apple, gentlemen. Hi, you want to you pick up some fruit when you come home. So you come home with one apple, one orange, one plum, and one pear, and one very, very, very upset wife. Right? What are you, a joker? It's Erev Shabbos, and I asked you to buy some fruit. You came home with one of each. You know what would happen to you? You ever have an apple put through your ear? Right? Did you ever experience that? Cajoing. What happened to you? And here, he's carrying one pomegranate, he's carrying one fig. And not only that, do you know that the Medrash, it says they were in the desert 40 years. They had a Mishkan. They had a tabernacle. They were bringing wine libations. There was wine offerings in the Mishkan. There were wine offerings. Where'd they get the wine from in the desert? Do you know there's a Medrash that says it was from this cluster of grapes lasted 40 years? That's a big cluster of grapes. You're talking about, one fig, one pomegranate. This is massive fruit. Now, I'm going to go for a ride. By the way, the word eshkol, cluster, there's a word in Hebrew. A dov shachul means an upset bear. Dov shachul. A dov shachul means a person bereaved. That's what a parent who's lost a child, chas v'shalom, in Israel, they're horim shchulim. Shachul means bereaved, bereavement. So the commentaries point out, the Mefarshim say over here, the word eshkol, they went to a place called Nachal. How did he translate Nachal? Valley of Eshkol. The Valley of Eshkol, because this is going to cause, what they do right now is going to have a effect that they're going to end up in the desert now for 40 years. All of this generation is going to die in the desert, the men, not the women, and therefore all of the women are going to be bereaved. This word Nachal Eshkol can also be translated as the valley of bereavement, because this is going to cause the widowhood of all the wives of all these men, not only these spies, the entire generation is going to die in the desert, so you're going to have 600,000 widows. 600,000 widows, this is the Nachal Eshkol, this is the valley of bereavement. And they take grapes, pomegranates, and figs. Now these are big fruits. What are they planning on doing with these fruits? They're going to come back. They're going to show them to the Jewish people. And by the way, you have 8 on the grapes, 1 on the pomegranates, 1 on the figs. So you only have 10. There are 2 people who don't have. Who doesn't have? Calev and Yeshua. Why not? They're not carrying anything. Why not? Obviously, obviously. Give a chumash, give Sam a chumash. Got one over there? Okay, page 800. Why aren't Calev and Yeshua carrying anything? Because they sense what the purpose is over here. Why are you bringing back the big fruit? You're bringing back the big fruit. Imagine you're thinking of conquering a land. You want to go into a land, and you're thinking you send up a spy, and you want to think, let's take over Pittsburgh. Let's conquer Pittsburgh. We've never been there, so we surround Pittsburgh, and you send in a spy. So the spies come back, and they bring back a slice of pizza and a cheeseburger. Right? Each one is the cheeseburger is about the size of this table, and there's only one bite taken out of it, and it's a giant bite. And you take a look and say, well, that's what their cheeseburgers look like, and that's what the bites look like. So what do the people look like? Forget it. Let's forget Pittsburgh. Let's go somewhere else. Yeah. You got a slice of pizza the size of a couple of these tables over here. I think let's go somewhere else. We're probably barking up the wrong alley over here. Let's go pick on someone else. Let's go to Toronto. Right? Let's do something else. But at the end of the day, we're certainly not going to attack. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to make, hey guys, if this is what the fruit looks like, what do you think the people look like? And it's an intimidation tactic, and therefore Calev and Yeshua don't want to get involved. Okay? Now, I'll tell you another idea here. Before I do it, there are certain concepts in Torah that it's like you have to hear it. If you hear it, you hear it. I can't explain it to you. I could just give you you get it's almost like looking at like hearing a symphony orchestra, or like looking at painting. What's it called? Classical art. If I got to ask you why it's good, you can't possibly explain it to me, right? There's certain things in life. If I got to tell you why that piece of music is a good piece of music, if you got to explain it to me, forget about it. I can't. You can't. There's certain things you can't explain. Either you hear it, or either you have the sensitivity to it, or you don't. So I tell you, what's that? A good joke. Yeah. Well, yeah. Somebody once said you're never as lonely as when you're the only person in the room who didn't get the joke. There's somebody in the room right now like, oh, well, I didn't get that. So the idea is like this. How many fruits are there of the 7 species? How many of them are there? There's wheat, barley, and then you have 5 types of fruit. What are they? Figs, pomegranates, olives, dates, and figs, pomegranates, olives, dates, and grapes. Okay. What are they bringing back? Grapes, pomegranates, and figs. What happened to the olives and the dates? What happened to the olives and the dates? So watch this. This is beautiful. If you stay with the start to finish. What was their purpose? Their purpose is to bring back big fruit because they want to intimidate the people. The olives and the dates weren't big, so it doesn't do them any good. They were regular size. Why were they regular size?
Wasn't the season?
What's that?
It was not the season?
It's also never this. It's never the season for grapes that need 8 people to carry them. You'll never have that season. There's never a season for one fig that's this size, except for some farmer in Arkansas who set the record for the biggest pumpkin once in a while. You see these guys with a pumpkin or a sweet potato, but generally they don't grow that big. They don't grow that big. Zeke from Arkansas had that big pumpkin. That the guy made it to the Guinness Book of World. But most of the time, they're not that big. So it's never the season for that. So what's going on here? The answer is, if the fruits in Eretz Yisrael are oversized, that means there's some sort of divine energy that's been put into them. That's miraculous. Doesn't happen on its own. There's a ruchni energy that was unleashed that caused these fruits to become oversized. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it to make bracha in the fruit. These are beautiful fruits of Eretz Yisrael. Oh, what about the dates and the figs, and the dates and the olives? What did the mun taste like? It said earlier, the mun tastes like ketzapichis bidvash. It tasted like wafers in honey. What kind of honey? Date honey. And it was lishad hashemen, like an oily wafer. So the mun, which has Hashem's blessing in it, the divine energy, was put into the mun. And which 2 tastes did the mun already have? It had the taste of the dates, and it had the taste of the olives. So that divine blessing already went into the mun. So it wasn't there for the fruits of Eretz Yisrael, the dates and the olives in Eretz Yisrael, so they stayed at a regular size. It was there for the figs, the grapes, and the pomegranates. But it was already used for the mun. So once that happens, so it no longer serves their purpose. We don't want to bring back regular sized fruit. We want to bring back the oversized fruit. Therefore, it didn't show up in those two fruits. That's what one of them for the Chassam Sofer says.
Didn't the man taste like whatever they wanted or something like
It could, but that's what the Torah, according to the Torah, it says that's according to the Medrash. The Torah says the olives and the what do you call it, the olives and the dates. Okay, now, so they come back and take a look at now 25. Now the action's going to pick up. Watch this. Pick it up on page 800, and now you're going to hear yourselves in this, at least some of you. Okay, Vayelchu, they go, 4 lines from the bottom. They leave, Vayavo el Moshe vel Aaron. And according to the Mefarshim, they say Vayelchu, they left. That means they were leaving for good. They were not intending on coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Vayavo el Moshe vel Aaron, they come to Moshe Aaron, vel kol adas b'nei Yisrael, midbar Paran kadesha. They come to the entire Jewish people in the desert of Paran. Vayoshivu asam davar ves kol ha'ida, vayarum es priya arts. They come back and they show everybody the fruit. Now, let's back up for a second. Why don't the Meraglim want to go into Eretz Yisrael? They have some sort of agenda over here that they're trying to avoid this. These are great people on a very high level. Why don't they want to go into Eretz Yisrael? Let's first get that straight. They obviously have an axe to grind. So there's a Zohar that says, there's a statement in the Zohar that says they were worried they're going to lose their positions once the Jewish people go into Eretz Yisrael. They're going to be demoted. Now, why should that happen? There's no reason logically they should lose their positions. But whenever you have a position in life, the last thing you want as somebody with an established position of prominence, the last thing you want is something to rock the boat. If the status quo is good, as long as the status quo is good, let's just keep everything on the status quo. Once something happens, look at politicians. As soon as something happens, like a war or an economy or something, I don't know what could happen. We're going to go into the land of Israel, and the things in the land of Israel may start changing. I don't know. Let's just stay where we are right now in the desert, where we're positioned of prominence. There we're sure. It's a sure thing. We're not interested in going into the land of Israel. We're going to go into the land of Israel. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Okay, this is what we are right now, but let's move the company to a different city. I don't know. We're going to move to a different city, then what's going to happen? Well, then all of a sudden he's going to get the promotion. I go, let's just keep the status quo. So they have a vested interest in keeping things the way they are, number one. Number two, remember what was the prophecy of Eldad and Medad in the last week's Parsha? What did Eldad and Medad say? Moshe's going to die. Yeshua's going to lead them in. I mean, these are 10 men. Yeshua is number 5 on the list over here. I was like, why him? That's always the key to that. Like, why him? We're also prominent people. Well, if we stay where we are right now, we're all even. We go into Israel, all of a sudden Yeshua is on top. How did he get on top over here? Why should he be the one on top? So for these and other reasons, they have this motivation to stay where they are. Now watch what happens. Vayasaprlo, bottom line on page 800. Vayasaprlo vayonameru banu el haaretz asher shlachtanu. We've come to the land where you have sent us. V'gam zavas cholav udvashu. It's a land of milk and honey. V'zet pirya. This is the fruit. Now, if they're trying to discourage people, why would they say it's a land of milk and honey? Why would they come up with something positive? So take a look at Rashi. Zavascha, top Rashi at page 802. Zavascha v'dvashi. Kol dvar sheker shein omri bo k'tzas emes. Any sort of lie where you don't say a little bit of truth b'tchilaso at the beginning, in miskayim b'zofa, it's not going to work. If you want to be a good liar, if you want to lie, you better start off with some truth. Why? Because if you're just a blatant lie, nobody's going to believe you. But if you say something truthful, especially something people want to believe, so then they want to believe the rest of it too. That's why it's always a good idea. It's always a good idea sometimes when you want to criticize somebody, you always start off positive. Listen, you're really smart, you're a really high caliber person, but I really think that you're speaking too much lashon hara. Oh, okay. As long as you start out like with it. Why? Because the person's desperate to hold on to the compliment. So it's all or nothing over. I got to believe all of it. So you tell me I'm a high caliber person. Ooh, oh, okay. And you're speaking too much lashon hara. Oh, okay. I got to work. I don't want to. I don't want to disbelieve the first thing you said. So I got to believe the second thing you said. I want a different example. Not that I suspect any of you, but if it ever happened that when you were in high school you got a hold of the test in advance, right? Not if it ever happened that you did. On those occasions that you did, that you got a hold from last year's group, or you managed to, somebody nipped it out of the teacher's briefcase or something, and so then what happens? Everybody gets together in the room, or if you happen to be copying off somebody else's paper, not that I suspect anybody copying off anybody else's paper. No, chas v'shalom, wouldn't do that. But you don't want to make sure you don't want the answers to be identical. Why not? Looks too suspicious. It's got to be a little bit of, if you want it to lie to work, it's got to be a little bit of truth. So there's always drop your grade a little bit when you got a hold of the paper. Okay, you get a 97, you get a 94, you got a 9. Assigned the guy who took it out of the briefcase, you get 100. You did the mitzvah, so you get the 100. But anybody else, you got to distribute it around evenly because we don't want it to look too obvious. So the first thing is we don't want to look like we're coming in here and just bashing the Eretz Yisrael. So first thing is, by the way, Zavascha, yeah. And then it says, Efes ki aza'am. However, now the article translates, but the nation of land Efes ki aza'am hayosef ba'aretz. The nation is very strong. V'ha'arim b'tsuros gedolos ma'od. They're very strongly fortified. V'gam yelidei ha'anak ra'idu sham. We also see the children of the giants. So the Ramban points out, everything can hinge on the turn of a word. If I come to you and I say, listen, it's a great land of milk and honey, but the cities are pretty strongly fortified. What's your attitude? Okay, it's doable. What if I say to you, it's a land of milk and honey, but I got some bad news. Those cities are fortified. You could say but in different ways. You can say, but the cities are fortified. You can say it's bad news, the cities are fortified. For lack of a better term in English. The word ephes, what do we use ephes for in modern Hebrew? Zero. And in this context, they're saying, we got zero chance. This word ephes, why did they say aval? Why didn't they say aval like you would say in regular Hebrew? Aval ki aza'am. Aval is too soft. But if I come to you and I say to you, listen, it's a zavascha v'dvash, but, it is fortified. All right, okay, we'll deal with that. But if I say to you, the land is milk and honey, but I got some bad news. I mean, these guys are really fortified, and they're strong and they're tough. What does it sound like I'm doing? I'm definitely trying to discourage. I'm definitely trying to get let's get off of this, guys. This is not going to work. That word ephes, the Ramban says, that was their downfall right there. That's where you see that they have a negative on ephes. Why did you say ephes for? Amalek Yoshev be'eretz HaNegev. Amalek, first thing they mentioned. The Amalek is in the south. Why Amalek? They've already fought Amalek once. Amalek has stung them once before. So the Medrash says it's like a kid who got hit by the strap. Father gave it to him with a belt. And then the kid is getting a little restless. And the mother wants to communicate a message. She says to her husband, Ralph, don't forget to wear your belt to work today. The kid hears the word belt. All of a sudden, he's brushing his teeth, he's doing his homework, he's cleaning off the table. He's got it. You only need a little reminder. So what do? They mention Amalek. Just hearing Amalek, whoa, Amalek. And we haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet. They're up on the mountain. And this is all the people surrounding the land. We haven't even gotten into the land yet. And if these nations haven't conquered the land, I mean, we're looking at the fruit, guys. This is a land with some nice fruit over here. If we haven't gotten if we haven't gotten to the fruit, so if they haven't gone after it, what makes us think we're going to succeed? Vayahas Calev Moshe. Calev silences the people. Vayomer Olo na levirashnos akiyochel nuchala. Calev starts picking up the drift over here. He goes, I don't like the direction this is going. So what does he do? He goes, Vayahas, shh, gets everybody quiet. And he said, is that all that Ben Amram has done to us? So the people thought, ooh, he's on our side too. This sounds like a blast. And he called him Ben Amram. He called the son of Amram. He didn't even call him Moshe Rabbeinu. So everybody, Caleb's gonna blast. He's gonna lash out too. Is that all Ben Amram has done? He split the sea. He brought down the man. He brought us out of Mitzrayim, brought down the. If he says go in, we could go in. Even if he tells us to build ladders and go up to heaven, we could do it. Calev has done something over here that, if you put in the proper perspective, the people, as soon as they hear the Meraglim, what do you think the mood of the people is here? They hear the Meraglim come back, right? Oh boy, they're fortified, they're strong. Look at the fruit. The people are already like oh boy. And they're already turning sour. And Calev gets up and says, no, we can do it. When's the last time somebody stood up against the entire Jewish people? Miriam's son, Hur. Hur stood up against the Jewish people at the golden calf. And what happened to him? They killed him. Who was Miriam's husband? Calev. This is Hur's father. How do you like that? This is Hur's father, and he's standing up against the Jewish people. Here he goes. Here, do you understand the risk he's running? He knows what the mood is over here. He knows where everybody's holding over here. You got the 10 guys against him, and now he's going to get up and say, no, everybody, we could do it. 1 second. Now they respond. No, they're too strong. Watch this. Vayotziu dibas ha'aretz asher toros al b'nei Yisrael lemar ha'aretz asher avarnu v'alosarosa eretz ocheles yoshvehi. It's a land that consumes its inhabitants. V'chol ha'am asher ra'inu b'socha anshe midos. So they say to the people, no, we can't. It's a land that consumes its inhabitants. What does it mean it consumes its inhabitants? So Rashi brings down. Take a look at Rashi. This is remarkable. And it brings a very big question as well. Left column, Ocheles Yoshveh. 2 lines from the top of left column in 802. Ocheles Yoshveh. B'chol makom she'avarnu, wherever we passed, matzanu kovre mesim. They were burying their dead. I'm going to ask you a question. You want to go for a vacation. So you hear an advertisement, you're looking for a getaway resort. And there's an advertisement for our resort. We got great fishing, great entertainment, great food, great accommodations, great golf, great hunting, great swimming, great everything. Please, everybody, great prices too, with alcohol and drugs, anything you want. Come join us. Gambling, we have a casino. Come join us at Rattlesnake Acres. Right? It's one of the finest resorts you'll ever go to. Would you check the price? You would, huh? You would?
With a name like that?
With a name like that? Rattlesnake Acres? I got news for you. I'll go to Alaska. I'm not going to Rattlesnake Acres. There's a reason they're calling it Rattlesnake Acres, because either there are rattlesnakes in the fields or they're serving rattlesnake for lunch. So I'm not going to Rattlesnake. It can't be a good thing. If they're calling it Rattlesnake Acres, it can't be a good thing. So the spies go into the land of Israel and says, all of a sudden, Rashi says, everywhere they went, they were burying the dead. And when you walk into a place, people are dying all over the place. It's either they're dying to get in there, dying to get out of there, but one way or the other, they're dying. So, they say it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. What are they really saying? Place is polluted, obviously. There's plague in Israel. You can't go into that land. People are dying all over the place. Says Rashi, V'HaKodesh Baruch Hu asa l'tova. Hashem did it for their benefit. Kedei l'torda be'evlam. To get the inhabitants should be in a state of mourning. V'lo yitnu leiv la'elu. They shouldn't pay attention to these guys. We said yesterday, you got a group of Hasidim walking through. 12 frum Jews are walking through talking Aramaic, and they're arguing about the Gemara while they're walking. And so how are the people not going to notice them? And a little bit of Yiddish. And they're walking through. And they're Japan. I told you, downtown Tokyo. Feivel, this is a shtickle sushi. Noch a shtickle, give me a little bit more. There they are. Here they are. What do you call it? How do you distract them? So Hashem cause their funerals. I understand. So what did they do? They came back with it. They said it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. Well, it certainly seems that way. What's the problem? What did they do wrong here? They did something wrong by saying this. It's a land that consumes the inhabitants. Why? Because we saw funerals all over the place. Saw people dying and being buried all over the place. I mean, what would your reaction be if you saw that? If you went anywhere. I had a friend here who told me he was checking out where to live in Israel. So they went to a place called Emmanuel. There's a little settlement called Emmanuel. So he was on the bus on the way to Emmanuel to check out. He was a young guy who was looking to decide where he and his wife are where the family's going to live. So they're on the bus. He told me they're on the bus on the way to Emmanuel. And every little while, he saw people on the bus started whispering. People on the bus who actually lived in Emmanuel were whispering something. So he said, what are you whispering? And he saw this happen a number of times. He says, oh, we're just saying the blessing that you make when you experience the miracle, because over here there was a terrorist attack and we escaped it, and over here there was a terrorist attack and we escaped it, or there was we survived it. So we make this blessing that you make for escaping when you experience a miracle. So he said, I don't want to go live somewhere where people are making blessings on surviving terrorist attacks on the way there, on the route there, you understand? So you saw people dying all over the place. So what are you supposed to do? What'd they do wrong? What would you say to people? If you went into Israel and you saw people, so you say, well, listen, apparently this is a place that's contaminated. Bitachon? I have no bitachon. I have bitachon. I have plenty of bitachon. But not where people are dying all over the place. I'm only reporting the facts. Yet they're taken to task for this. Why? The answer is, what do you say, Ethan?
How come they didn't get the plague?
How come they didn't get plagued? Obviously, it's not so contagious. B, in a land where the air is contaminated, what do you think the fruit's going to look like? You're not going to get big, luscious, delicious-looking fruit where the air is contaminated. The fruit's going to be all rotten and worm infested. You're not going to get giant figs that last you for 40 years. So where you got giant grapes that lasted for 40 years? So you should have come up with in other words, data is very tricky. It's very tricky to interpret the data. We're looking at something objectively. Does that mean it's for our, maybe, number one. Number two, let me ask you a question. The time of the bubonic plague in Europe, how did they bury people? If they got buried, what did they do? They put them in a wheelbarrow, put a bunch of bodies in a wheelbarrow and dumped them into a mass grave. And nobody went near there. Why are they seeing funerals over here? All of a sudden there's a funeral and people are mourning and everybody's around. That means you should have been able to determine based on what you see that this is an exception, this is not the rule. These are exceptional circumstances. And as exceptional circumstances, you should have been able to say, oh, I know why this happened. This is happening because Hashem wants them distracted so that we could go through the land over here. That means there are two ways to interpret things. There are always two ways. You take a look. These are the statistics. This is the information. Now, how do you interpret that? If you walk into a room and there's a wallet sitting on the table, it could be that it belongs to somebody, and it could be that it's hefker. Right? Well, how do you determine that? Right? Well, we have been given the intelligence. If you walk into a supermarket and you see a jar of peanut butter, it could be it belongs to the supermarket, and it could be that it's hefker. Somebody just happened to drop their private jar of peanut butter on the shelf, right near all the other peanut butter jars that say Skippy. But this one happens to be, the hippies used to do this in the 60s. The hippies were anti-establishment, whatever it was. They would go into supermarkets, take, a brick of cheese or a jar of something. They weren't stealing it. They were liberating it. They were liberating the peanut butter. Yeah, from the establishment, the clutches of the establishment. They were liberating the peanut butter. Right? So we're going to go liberate a car. Let's go to the what do you call it? To the Mercedes lot and liberate a car. Maybe it's hefker. I saw a Mercedes the other day, in a parking lot. Maybe it was hefker. So we're capable of interpreting the statistics. The data. So you see people dying all over the place. Either it's a plague or it's that Hashem's doing you a favor to distract them so you can walk through the land. And they were capable of coming to that conclusion, and therefore they're taken to task for it. 1 second. V'chol anshe ha'ir, look at the next line they say. V'chol ha'am asher ra'inu b'socha anshe midos. They were people of measure. What does midos mean, gentlemen? What does the word midos mean? How they use midos in general? He's got good midos, bad midos, what? Trait, manners, characteristics, behavior. Why is it called midos? Why is it called midos? Do you know the word mida? Mida means a measure. That means every character trait has to be used with proper measure. He's got good midos. He's got the mida of anger, or he's got the mida of calm. He's got the mida of generosity, mida of stinginess. These are all a mida. Why? Because there's a measurement. Generosity is good, but only up to a point. You don't become completely, what do you call it? You're going to give away everything that you own. You have to there's even a limit in halacha how much money you could give away. Anger is not a good mida, except sometimes you have to get angry at sinners. Everything in the proper measure. So it comes along and says, these are people of midos. What are they trying to apply? What are they trying to say? They're trying to say these are people who are with self-control. And they're still dying. So they're not dying because of their sins. They're obviously dying because the land is a killer land. It's a killer land. It's not a good place to be. Number one. Number two, take a look at Rashi. Anshe Bidos, left Calev Rashi 4 lines on the top. We'll finish with this. Gidolim v'gvohim. They are big and they are tall. V'tzarich loseis lahem mida. You got to give them you got to assign a size to them. Kigon Goliath, Goliath, who Dovid killed. Govo sheish amos azeres, 6 amos and azeres. What does this mean? You know, if a guy walks in, we had a guy in our neighborhood once. He no longer lives in the neighborhood. We got to live in a neighborhood who, for years, I mean, this guy was really tall. This guy was really tall. And for every time I'd see the guy, and I knew the guy for years, and I still would look at him in shul when I was supposed to be davening, always thinking to myself, is that 6'11", or is he more 7'1", 7'2"? A guy that tall walks into the room, what happens? Everyone looks, and everyone starts, you know, and sometimes I would even look where his head got to on the wall to see if I could measure up to that point when he's not looking to see, because I want to see his, and you know, a guy like that walks into the room, everybody's looking, and then you're starting to speculate, true or not. I wonder, that's about 6'10", 6'11", 7'1", 7'2". When a guy 5'7" walks into the room, it's like, ooh, wow, you know, look at that, 5'7", 5 feet 7 inches of solid Jew, right? No, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking at 5'7", but when you're 7'5", that's something else. So they're anshe midos. They're called anshe midos. Midos means that we saw giants in this land, and we saw people. So now the Jewish people are hearing this. You're in the desert, and you're being told you're going into how do you feel at this point? Giant fruit, giant people, fortified cities. What's going through your mind? Right. That's what's going through your mind is like, I don't like where this is going. Right? I don't like where this is heading. Okay. So what is the people's reaction? One more pasuk. Vatisa kola eda vayitnu eskolam vayivku ha'am balaylahu. Everybody starts crying on that night. And what night was that? That was Tisha B'Av. And that becomes a night of crying through history. All through history, this is going to be the night people cry. Why? You cried for no reason. Ever father ever say that to you? Want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. Hey, ever hear that music? You want to kvetch? I'll give you something to kvetch about. I never said it to my kids. I got it. I heard it an awful lot from my dad. You got nothing to do? You want me to give you something to do? You ever hear that one? No. I'll find something to do. I got nothing to do. You want me to give you something to do? No. So, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. That's what Torah says over here. You cried for no reason. You cry. I'm trying to give you a gift and you're crying. I'm giving you the land of Israel, and for that you figured out a reason to cry. There's nothing wrong with crying, gentlemen. If a person's in pain, they're allowed to cry. If a person's upset, they're allowed to cry. There's an idea of mourning. There's an idea a person's in avail. There's nothing wrong with crying, but if there's good reason for crying. There's got to be good reason for crying. Here you're crying, I'm giving you something good for crying out loud. I'm giving you something good, and for that you figured out a reason to distort it and to cry? That's a bechiyah shel chinam. You want to cry because you're upset? Yeah, you're allowed to cry. That you're allowed to cry for. You're in pain, you're allowed to cry. A person's allowed to cry. Tears are healthy. Tears are healthy to a certain extent. When a person gets it out of the system a little bit, lets it out. But not when I'm trying. It's like I'm giving you a gift, and I'm having trouble. And you start crying because I haven't given you the gift yet. What do you want? For that, they pay. We pay throughout history. All right, we'll continue with it tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.
Thank you.